You have already said that Kiev may negotiate with Russia after the failure of its provocation in the Kursk region, and before that, were there any prospects for a peaceful settlement of the situation? We have already talked about this many times. We have reached almost all the parameters of a possible peace agreement with government representatives in Kiev. We have agreed on everything. Moreover, the head of the negotiating delegation, and he still heads the faction of the ruling party in the Rada, in parliament. He signed these agreements. Yes, there were still some things that needed to be finalized. But in general their visa is there, it is a document. Then Mr. Johnson arrived, as you know. The British authorities do not deny this, they confirm it. He arrived and gave the Ukrainians instructions to fight to the last Ukrainian, which is what is happening today. With the goal of achieving a strategic defeat of Russia. They are not succeeding. And the Ukrainian authorities publicly stated that if they had followed what we had agreed upon with them, if they had not listened to their masters from other countries, the war would have stopped long ago, but they took a different path. Now we see the result. Are we ready to negotiate with them? We have never refused to do so, but not on the basis of some ephemeral demands, but on the basis of the documents that were agreed upon and actually initialed in Istanbul. Is there an understanding of which country could become a mediator country this time? If negotiations take place in the future, well, we respect our friends, partners, who, as I believe, are sincerely interested in resolving all issues related to this conflict. First of all, these are the People's Republic of China, Brazil, India. I am constantly in contact with our colleagues on this issue, and I have no doubt that the leaders of these countries, we have a trusting relationship with them. They sincerely strive to help understand all the details of this complex process, which, of course, I want to remind you, began with the coup d'etat in Ukraine in 2014. After all, that's where it all began. They tell us all the time about human rights, about some principles of international law that everyone must comply with, and what is an unconstitutional bloody coup d'etat? What is it? This led to the fact that part of the country's population did not agree with the results and with this coup in general. They began to fight for their rights. Everything ultimately resulted in today's conflict. These are the reasons, but they prefer not to remember this. But we know the reasons. And, of course, we will protect our interests and the interests of those people who are close to us and who are the bearers of the Russian language, Russian culture, Russian traditions, which, by the way, our guest today spoke about very vividly. Vladimir Vladimirovich, we all understand perfectly well that, in general, and you have just noted this, negotiations are possible not directly with Kiev, but with its western curators. But in the event of negotiations, do you think we can trust them in the future? After all, if you look even at historical facts, Russia has been deceived, probably, more than once. These include the issues of NATO expansion to the east and the Minsk agreements. We did not violate them. Have we drawn conclusions? You understand. What other way is there? Yes, we understand who we are dealing with. These are people who do not value, who treat the interests of other countries and peoples without any respect. Such people, unfortunately, exist. They easily violate all the obligations they have taken on, even sign documents. But what can we do? We just need to look for such forms and such guarantees that would at least somehow, to some extent, work. But the main guarantee of our security is the growth of the economy and military potential of the Russian Federation itself. These are reliable and stable relations with our partners and allies, you said. That we failed to reach an agreement in Istanbul with the mediation of President Erdogan, but in fact, we managed to reach an agreement. That is the whole trick. This is also evidenced by the signature of the head of the Ukrainian delegation, which initialed this document, which means that the Ukrainian side was generally satisfied with the agreements reached. This document did not enter into force only because the Westerners did not give them the order to implement it, and the elites of the United States, the elites of some European countries had a desire to achieve a strategic defeat of Russia. They thought that they would now take advantage of the situation and bring Russia to its knees, dismember it, or do something else that they were planning to do. They thought that manna from heaven would fall upon them at any moment, that they would now achieve their strategic goals, which they had been striving for, perhaps, for centuries or decades. These are the reasons. Johnson came and told them, no need. You have got to fight to the last Ukrainian. That is why they are still fighting. Sometimes I get the impression that those who govern Ukraine are as if they are aliens or foreigners. In fact, they simply do not think about anything. No, I'm serious. You understand, they have colossal losses. What will they do next? I don't even understand. They need to lower the draft age again now. To recruit children, like the Nazis did in Germany, to create the Hitler Youth. But that won't solve the problem. This is such a total and widespread mobilization. Such a total mobilization is already taking place there, but their next step is to call up students for military service, and so on, completely bleed the country dry. I repeat once again, it seems that these are not their people. Actually, it's clear. The relatives of the members of the ruling elite mostly live abroad. They got on a plane and flew away. And that's the end of it. They don't think about the country. They only hide behind nationalist slogans. That's all. They are fooling people. But, I repeat once again, if they really have such a desire to negotiate, then we will not refuse. But on the basis of those agreements that were reached and recorded in Istanbul,